for Devas' arc. You all said it would be good, and that it was. It really was. But again, in a different way than all of the other Gintama arcs have been. It's interesting how no two arcs really leave you with the same feeling, the same message, I guess. Even though there's a lot of internal consistency with everything. It's just like a tribute to Sorachi's writing, how adept he is at addressing so many different things. It never feels like a rehash. Every arc leaves you with something different, but again, also sort of complementing the previous arcs and the story on the whole, and it's all just fantastically put together. I feel like I'm going to end up talking about a lot of this through the lens of Jirocho and then compare it to Gintoki. I feel like I do this for a lot of my reviews, examine the arc through the eyes of the antagonist. On one hand, it's just how I think a lot of times when I read or watch things, I love trying to figure out the villain per se, but it's also largely how I think that these serious arcs are structured to begin with. The villains are rarely, if ever, one-dimensional, and a significant portion of the plot really is devoted to their own development. In this case, to the point where I really wouldn't even characterize Jirocho as a villain. I really wouldn't. Kata is the real villain of the arc, obviously, and interestingly enough, she seems to be a rare exception to the Gintama makes really complicated and compelling villains rule, unless she appears later on in the story for further development. Which is actually one of my few critiques of the arc, that she really never became anything as a person, and soon after showing her true colors, she's pretty quickly and easily crushed, not really having done much of anything on her own, which kind of left me with a sense of anticlimax as far as the plot goes. It really lacked a clear antagonist that felt like a threat. Like I said, Jirocho not really a villain, and Kata, she's shown to be pretty pathetic, honestly, and it was kind of just for the most part, this arc was organized chaos between four vying factions, so in terms of plot, I would actually say it's one of the weaker major arcs, but it really, really makes up for it for the great moments that it has. It's by far some of the best in the entire series, and what it does as far as characters and themes are concerned, which are absolutely just fantastic. Especially for the development of Gintoki's character, but also I want to applaud it for being an incredibly fun arc to watch. It wasn't as stressful and emotionally draining as, the Red Spider or Shinsengumi Crisis arc, for example. And it just has one of the most endearing endings ever. But back to Jirocho, or more specifically, Jirocho, Otose, and Tatsudoro. Getting a glimpse into Otose's past, really. We've gotten a little bit in previous episodes, but not all that much. And here we sort of have a love triangle, but not really. It's more of a, girl tries to keep boy out of trouble and ends up marrying that boy's straight-laced best friend and rival sort of thing. But eventually Tatsudoro is killed, ends up dying in Jirocho's arms, and Jirocho promises him that above all he will protect this city, to protect what Tatsudoro wanted to protect. Jirocho fights in the Joey War, leaving behind his wife and daughter, and never really comes back, per se. He keeps on fighting by means of upholding his promise to Tatsudoro, and protecting Kabukicho by protecting Edo, by whatever means necessary, ignoring absolutely everything else, including attachments to his family and his loved ones. And so this is the basic backdrop to the arc, which is in itself, fascinating, especially when you realize that this is very well the type of person that Gintoki could have become upon returning home from the war. Someone with a single-minded obsession with something, unable to enjoy the rest of his life, unable to love other people, and unable to have a little bit of fun. And there we have, again, what I'm sort of pegging as the main theme of Gintama, I guess you could say, that you shouldn't let life's burdens get in the way of life's joys. And this arc again repeatedly draws comparisons through Gintoki and Jirocho, and with good reason. It literally spells it out for us at one point that Gin and Jirocho are two very similar people in their roguishness, if nothing else, fighting for the same thing, to protect Edo and to uphold a promise to Tatsudoro, but their means and smaller goals are entirely in conflict, and so things come to a head. It's just this This is the type of writing that I live for. I love parallels, I love tight writing like this, conflicts that are more than just the fighting itself, and conflicts where you can really get both sides. And the way that Sorachi slowly builds this up, revealing bits of the story from the very, very beginning until it all comes together in the end, it just showcases his prowess as a writer. It's sort of how everything in Gintama sort of is structured, just like little details dropped here and there, and then they all come together. And even just like the story on the whole, that's what it seems to be trying to do. Like, just in general though, the writing of this series feels like it has improved quite a bit since the beginning. It's always been great, but I don't know, like, when you watch something as quickly as I am doing right now, you really do notice the changes and the improvement. So I don't have any complaints there. Regardless, back to the story, every decision has consequences. Things don't happen in a vacuum. Jirocho has turned his back on his family, his young daughter, and that's obviously not very fair to her. Pirako wants her father back, and just like him, she is willing to do anything to get him back, just like he's willing to do anything to protect Edo. And so in like one sense they're total opposites, that he will give up individual people for the sake of Edo, and she will rip Edo apart for the sake of him, an individual person. But just like the end goal, Jirocho, on top of everything, and the means, just like knowing their limits, are effectively the same. I don't know, just like the way that they play off of each other is quite interesting. On one hand, Pirako is really... she seems to border on insane at points, and on the other, you feel awful for her. Like, she instigated all of this entire conflict. This little girl wanting her father to come home for more. She's the one who arranged all of this. It's sad circumstances, and it's like especially terrible when you see her watching all of the fighting escalate, getting to see all the bravery and devotion of the people that she is stepping on, all the bloodshed and horror that she's helped unleash. Thankfully, it eventually clicks for her. Gina and Jirocho deal with Kada, while Shinpachi, Kagura, Catherine, Tama, everyone, just like, even like these one-off characters from episode whatever, 60-something, just like way back when, they're back, and they do damage control, I guess you could say. Pirako and her father get a happy ending as ultimately Gintoki one-ups Jirocho. He is the one who keeps his promise to Tatsudoro, freeing Jirocho at last from the war and getting to spend the rest of his life happily with his daughter. Like, that last scene, it was so sweet and endearing, and I just loved it. 'Tis an honor. But, while Gintoki frees Jirocho, it means that he keeps the chains of a warrior, as they say in this arc, on himself. Like, and you can really just see how selfless and endlessly self-sacrificing this guy is. Like, I doubt he would ever characterize himself like that, as he certainly isn't trying to be a hero for the sake of being a hero, but honestly that just makes him more of a hero to me. Like, Gintoki, you're one of my favorite protagonists in anything ever. You're lazy, you're sarcastic, you're a bit of a perv, but you're incredible, I love you. Like that scene with Shinpachi and Kagura, like when he's horribly injured and goes out to fight again, trying to leave them behind, run away, stay safe, and they're like, no, you're hurt, and we want to help, we love you again, life won't be any fun without you. And he's just like, life doesn't need to be any fun. I just want you to live. I don't want anyone else to die. I don't ever want to see that again. And you know he's talking about all the shoujo stuff, not just shoujo, but the war in general. But just like the look in his eyes, the sad smiles tend to get me more than anything else does. But just like, Shinpachi starts shouting at him, and they all insist, and that was Catherine and Tama as well, and they make a new promise to Tatsudora, and just like, Yorozuya, I love you all, especially Gintoki. But, I'm just rambling now. Of course, we also need to discuss the graveyard scene. Wow. We've seen Gintoki fight plenty of times before. We've seen him get really, really personally invested in something before in, like, the Red Spider arc. But this is probably the first time we have seen him go completely and utterly berserk. Like, that fight with Jirocho, top notch, especially with the new season's animation, the upped animation quality, just wow. Some of the shots of Gin's face, it was chilling. And like the parallel imagery of a young Gintoki and also say at the grave, and then the two of them in the present, like, lying there half dead, Gin barely able to crawl in her direction. Like, the scene really just shows how much she means to him. I feel like there's so much off-screen in this relationship. Like, this woman just took in this young man, took him in off the street, not asking anything in return, letting him stay without ever paying his rent. This woman gave him a home after all of that. Gave him a mother that he never had. Even when he had Shoyo and his friends. Like, he probably feels like he owes her his life, everything, and obviously he repays that. He probably doesn't think that he could have ever recovered from anything at all, to at least the extent that he has without her. But also, I do believe that this is the first time, at least in my memory, that somebody has pegged Gintoki as the Shiroyasha, other than, like, Katsura, Takasugi, and Sakamoto knowing what he is. I mean, it's not really surprising that Jirocho could figure it out, given that Gin's, like, inhuman fighting prowess and his own participation in the war, but I don't know, I just found it very interesting that he just, like, pulled the whole Shiroyasha card. I'm also not sure if I love or hate Jirocho for comparing Gintoki to Otose's, like, guard dog. Like, in a sense, it is a fitting description, but when combined with the fact that he says you have nothing left to protect, probably like the ultimate insult to Gintoki, it's just like, no. Because Gintoki, he seems to agree with him. Like, Kagura and Shinpachi, before Kagura and Shinpachi slap some sense back into him, like he's going off to deal with everything that's going on, it feels like he's saying his last goodbyes, like he's going off, completely ready to die, and he's just like, he doesn't care at all whether he lives or dies. And you realize that this guy probably doesn't value his own life in the slightest. He thinks he's nothing, like a tool to be used, to be a sword for whoever needs it. His odd job's, after all, just like, tell me what to do and I'll do it, or just to protect the people that he loves. And just like the very fact that their love for him in return seems to shock him, like that scene that I discussed earlier, just like, life won't be any fun without you. You just need to live. Like, Gintoki, what are you saying? Stop! but enough about Gintoki. I'll just keep rambling forever. One last thing. Takasugi and Kamui, in control of the entire Harusame. The world is going to end. No, but I really love the episode. It's probably one of my favorites in general. Like, these two are the only ones that we really have right now as far as big picture antagonists go. Like, we know that they're antagonistic forces, like, working in the background. But they, and, like, the other Keitai and Yato, are the only ones with faces, I guess you could say, that we can recognize as real characters, so naturally they have more of an impact on us. And just, like, watching them team up, it was fun, honestly. It was fun to watch them fighting everyone. Both of them are very entertaining and charismatic villains, so their screen time, though unfortunately very short-lived, I imagine that they'll get more in the future, so it's great to watch. And the two of them together are bound to be even better. Like, I don't know. Like, we've had a lot of plot in terms of the arcs themselves, but as far as overarching plot goes, there's not a lot. And I think that this is a rare example in Gintama of real story progression inside of just, like, setting up plot threads, setting up character backgrounds. Like, this is an event that's going to lead to further consequences in the future, in the big picture. So it's just an interesting change as far as Gintama goes, and you can tell that, I mean, I just know in terms of episode count, I'm approaching the major plots of Gintama, that I'm coming up on, like, the Shogun assassination arc. I'm, like, 75 episodes away from it now. I'm coming there. I'm almost there. But, that's all I've got for you guys today as far as reviewing the Kabukicho for Devas arc. It was excellent in every sense of the word. Also, if you have any recommendations for future reviews and live reactions, I feel like I'm pretty set as far as everything up through the end of Gintama and Chosen goes. I don't really know what I'm going to be doing with the 2015 series at all, but if you want to recommend for any of that as well, feel free to do so in the comments. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. See you soon.